The Red Door. In a forgotten part of New England, nestled between two overgrown hills and surrounded by dense forest, stood the Holloway House, a crumbling Victorian structure abandoned since the 1920s. The house had long been the subject of local legends. Children dared each other to touch the front steps. Teenagers ventured to the porch at midnight, and the truly foolish tried to open the door that was painted blood red and locked from the inside. No one had ever succeeded. That is, until Thomas Hargrove. Thomas was a junior anthropology professor with a fascination for folklore. He came to the town of Eldridge Falls under the guise of academic research, but in truth, he was obsessed with the Holloway House. According to his findings, the house had once belonged to Ezra Holloway, a reclusive spiritualist who vanished along with his entire household in the autumn of 1922. No bodies were found, just a blood-stained red door and an abandoned dinner table, still set for 6. Locals claimed the house was cursed, that Ezra had summoned something he couldn't control. But Thomas didn't believe in curses. He believed in history. On October 28th, just before Halloween, he approached the house armed with a camera, a flashlight, and a crowbar. The wooden steps groaned under his weight. He stood before the red door, heart pounding, sweat clinging to his neck, despite the cold. The door opened at his touch. He froze. It hadn't even been locked. The inside smelled of mold and decay. Cobwebs stretched across the hall like drapes. Dust covered everything, except the floor, which bore a single trail of fresh footprints leading deeper into the house. Thomas swallowed his fear and followed them. He passed through a parlor where cracked portraits stared down at him with eyes that seemed too lifelike. The fireplace held cold ashes, and the clock above the mantel ticked softly, though its hands never moved. He found the dining room exactly as described, 6 place settings untouched, wine glasses filled with dark liquid that looked far too fresh. He turned to take a photo and saw someone standing in the hallway mirror. A woman in black, pale as wax, her mouth sewn shut with thread. Her eyes locked on his through the glass, but when he turned around, the hallway was empty. He tried to laugh it off. Old houses played tricks. Mirrors reflected illusions. Still, he didn't sleep that night. The next day, he returned. He couldn't help himself. This time, he explored the upper floor. Most of the doors were locked except one, the nursery. Toys lay scattered on the floor, some mid-motion, as if frozen in time. A music box played by itself, its melody warped and broken. On the wall was a child's drawing, 6 stick figures standing in a circle. A red scribble hovered above them, with a single word written beneath, Father. He took a photo. The camera clicked, but refused to save the image. When he looked again, the drawing had changed. The red scribble had grown larger. The stick figures were on their knees. That night, Thomas began hearing whispers in his apartment. At first he thought it was the wind, but soon the voices formed words. Open the red door, they said. Let us out. He dreamed of Ezra Holloway, chanting in a dark room. Around him stood 6 figures in black robes. In his dream, Thomas was among them. He was holding something, a book bound in skin, and he was laughing. On October 31st, Thomas returned for the final time. He brought a journal, determined to document everything. The house welcomed him now. No creaks, no groans, just silence. He found himself drawn to the basement. The door, which had always been locked, now stood open. Inside, the walls were lined with symbols etched in dried blood. Candles lit themselves as he descended. In the center of the room was a circle, and within it, a chair. Upon the chair sat a body, mummified, eyes hollow, mouth open in a scream. It was Ezra Holloway. Thomas felt a pressure in his skull, like something pushing inward. The air turned thick. The candles flared. Then he heard the voice, not with his ears, but inside his head. You open the door. You must take his place." The ghost of Ezra rose, limbs cracking, head tilting unnaturally. The 6 robed figures appeared around the circle. They began chanting. Thomas screamed, tried to run, but his legs wouldn't move. He was forced to sit in the chair, his limbs locked. His mouth was sewn shut by unseen hands. The last thing he saw before the darkness took him was the red door closing slowly above. The chill of the autumn air wraps around the Holloway house like a shroud, its eerie silhouette looming against the pale moonlight. Inside, shadows dance with the whispers of the past, as a group of thrill-seeking students dare one another to enter its decaying walls. They giggle amidst the cobwebs, their laughter echoing through the empty corridors, mocking the legends that have swirled around this forsaken place for decades. Little do they know that their bravado will soon unravel into terror. As the group explores the dilapidated rooms, they stir up dust motes that hover like spirits in the air. Each step leads them deeper into the house's dark history, but one among them feels the pull of something more profound. Rachel, a fresh face among the veteran pranksters, finds herself mysteriously drawn to the basement. The laughter from her friends fades as she descends the creaking stairs, an inexplicable compulsion guiding her through the darkness that envelops her like a thick fog. In the basement, the atmosphere shifts. It feels heavier, electric with unspoken truths. There, in the center of the room, lies a circle of candles flickering in the dim light, illuminating the dust-covered floorboards. Her heart races as she approaches an open journal, its pages yellowed with age. She reads the last entry, the ink still dark and chilling. "Do not open the red door. Whatever you do, don't sit in the chair." The gravity of the warning seeps into her, sparking fear in the pit of her stomach. Just then, a loud creak echoes behind her, pulling her attention away from the journal. Rachel spins around, dread pooling in her veins. The door she had initially overlooked stands ajar, a deep crimson hue that seems to pulsate with a life of its own. From the shadows emerges a figure, a man twisted by sorrow and suffering, his lips sewn shut, eyes hollow and sunken. He stands in the candlelight, a ghost of the past, pointing directly at the ominous chair that sits empty within the circle. It's as if time stands still. Her breath catches in her throat as she realizes that the tales of the Holloway house are not mere stories, but a trap set for the unwary, and she has stumbled right into the heart of a darkness that hungers for souls.